War doesn't just reshape borders, it quietly reshapes economies. When conflict erupts, governments pour massive resources into military spending, supply chains break down, and essential goods become scarce. The result? Prices start climbing fast. But the real reason inflation spikes during war goes deeper than just shortages. It's a mix of increased money supply, disrupted production, and panic-driven demand. In this video, we'll break down exactly how war fuels inflation and why it hits everyday people the hardest. Today, we will talk about the real reason inflation spikes during war. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. 1. Introduction. Why war always triggers inflation. War is one of the most powerful disruptors of economic stability. Beyond destruction and political conflict, it creates immediate and long-lasting pressure on prices. Inflation, the steady rise in the cost of goods and services, almost always spikes during wartime. While many people assume this is only due to shortages, the reality is far more complex. Inflation during war is the result of interconnected forces. Government spending surges, supply chains collapse, production shifts, currencies weaken, and consumer behavior becomes unpredictable. Together, these factors create an economic environment where prices rise quickly and consistently, often hurting ordinary citizens the most. 2. Massive government spending and money supply expansion. One of the strongest drivers of wartime inflation is the sudden explosion in government spending. Wars require enormous financial resources for weapons, military personnel, logistics, intelligence, and reconstruction. Since governments rarely have enough savings to fund long conflicts, they rely on borrowing or increasing the money supply. When more money enters the economy without a matching increase in goods and services, the value of money declines. This means each unit of currency buys less than before, leading to higher prices across the board. In extreme situations, excessive money printing can cause severe inflation or even hyperinflation, where currency rapidly loses value and economic confidence collapses. 3. Disruption of production and economic output. War significantly reduces a country's productive capacity. Factories that once produced consumer goods such as clothing, electronics, and vehicles are often converted to produce military equipment. This shift reduces the availability of everyday products in the market. At the same time, labor shortages occur as workers join the military or are displaced by conflict. Agricultural production is also affected due to damaged farmland, reduced workforce, and unsafe working conditions. With fewer goods being produced but demand still present, prices naturally rise. This imbalance between supply and demand is one of the most fundamental causes of inflation, and war intensifies it dramatically. 4. Supply chain collapse and transportation disruptions. Modern economies depend on highly interconnected global supply chains. War disrupts these networks at multiple points. Transportation routes may become unsafe or completely blocked, ports may shut down, and trade relationships between countries may weaken or collapse. Even countries not directly involved in the conflict often experience delays and increased costs for imported goods. When shipping becomes more expensive and less reliable, businesses pass those costs on to consumers. This leads to widespread price increases across essential goods like food, fuel, and manufactured products, contributing heavily to inflation. 5. Panic buying, scarcity fear, and demand surges. War also triggers psychological reactions in populations, particularly fear and uncertainty. When people expect shortages, they begin hoarding essential goods such as food, fuel, and medicine. This panic buying creates a sudden surge in demand that outpaces supply, pushing prices higher in the short term. Governments may also increase wages for military personnel and defense workers, which increases the amount of money circulating in the economy. When more money chases fewer goods, inflation accelerates. This demand-side pressure combines with supply shortages to create sharp and often unpredictable price increases. 6. Energy price shocks and global cost inflation. Energy markets are especially sensitive during wartime. Many conflicts occur in or near regions that produce oil and gas, making energy supply unstable. When production or distribution is disrupted, global energy prices rise rapidly. Since energy is essential for transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, and electricity generation, higher fuel costs spread throughout the entire economy. This creates what economists call cost-push inflation, where increased production costs force businesses to raise prices. Even small increases in oil prices can significantly affect the cost of groceries, goods, and services worldwide. 7. Currency devaluation and financial instability. War often weakens a country's currency due to declining investor confidence and economic instability. Foreign investors may withdraw their capital, and domestic citizens may try to move their money into safer assets or foreign currencies. This reduces demand for the local currency, causing its value to fall. A weaker currency makes imports more expensive, which directly increases inflation, especially in countries that rely heavily on imported goods like machinery, fuel, and food. Currency depreciation can also create a feedback loop where rising prices further reduce confidence in the currency, accelerating inflation even more. 8. Long-term inflation effects. After the war ends, even after a war ends, its inflationary effects can persist for years. Reconstruction efforts require massive government spending, which can continue to increase money supply and public debt. Governments may raise taxes or continue borrowing to rebuild infrastructure, keeping financial pressure high. Additionally, damaged industries take time to recover, meaning supply remains limited even after peace is restored. Psychological effects also linger. Businesses and consumers may continue expecting rising prices, which influences economic behavior and keeps inflation elevated. As a result, wartime inflation often transitions into long-term economic instability. Conclusion. Inflation during war is not a temporary or isolated phenomenon. It is the result of deep structural shocks that ripple through every layer of the economy. When conflict begins, governments are forced into emergency spending, industries are redirected toward military needs, and normal trade routes are disrupted. At the same time, fear spreads among consumers and investors, changing how people spend, save, and move money. All of these forces interact simultaneously, creating a powerful inflationary cycle that is difficult to control in real time. What makes wartime inflation especially serious is that it does not come from one single source like demand or supply alone. Instead, it is a combination of both, amplified by policy decisions and global instability. Supply becomes restricted because production slows and logistics break down, while demand often rises due to panic buying and government-driven increases in money circulation. When these two forces move in opposite directions, prices rise sharply and consistently across nearly all essential goods and services. If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up, leave a comment, and click the button to subscribe.